Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article of discussion is about the NRC list. The NRC list is currently being undertaken in the state of Assam. This can be called as a list, a report, or a book which will identify the legitimate and the genuine citizens of India, and it will also weed out all the illegal immigrants from the state of Bangladesh. What is the objective of NRC? The objective is to ensure that all the political, economic and cultural rights of the local people in the state of Assam is restored and all the illegal immigrants are weeded out of India. In this particular backdrop, what is the process of NRC? So this NRC was conducted under the watchful eyes of the Supreme Court. So this was a process which was conducted for more than 5 years, and it also involved a lot of money power, as much as about 1220 crore. What happens in this process is the government comes up with certain laws, and it is these laws that have been followed by the prescribed number of government officials, as many as 52,000. It is these government officials who will find out whether the citizens are Indian or not. How has this worked? You have the government officials, you have the laws prescribed by the political executive. It is these laws that were followed by the government officials for inclusion and exclusion of people in the state of Assam. So all those applicants were also provided adequate opportunities as well in case their names were excluded from this NRC list in the past. Why are we discussing this? That is because the final NRC list is out. There were about 3.03 crores who were the applicants in the state of Assam, and currently about 19 lakh people have been excluded under this NRC list. So what is this NRC list? What was the objective of it? What is the significance of it? Has all been explained on 30th of August 2019. So kindly look into it. So what are we looking at right now? We will be looking at the recourse that can be initiated for all those people who have been omitted from this NRC list. For all those people whose names are not mentioned in the NRC list, they don't have to get scared. Why? Because there is a recourse that is provided, or an alternative that is provided by the state officials. What happens? The people will have to file an appeal within 120 days. So this NRC list is out. Within 4 months from this particular date, they'll have to go right in front of the foreigners tribunal. So they'll have to provide enough documentation that they have been living in the state of Assam, and then this foreigner tribunals will consider it. In case it is accepted, they'll be included in the NRC list. If it is not included, then they can also approach the High Court as well as the Supreme Court going forward. This particular order of the foreign tribunal will also have to be published within 6 months, where they should be able to dispose all the cases that are coming up to the doors of the foreign tribunal. Currently, there are about 100 existing foreign tribunals, but going forward, the government is also planning to establish 200 or more, so that all these cases can be discussed. Now this is a recourse as an alternative that is provided by the state official. What if all these legal recourses or an alternative is not executed? What will happen? Will they be deported? Is the question that needs to be answered. When you look at the initial agitation from the All Assam Students Union, which led to the Assam movement, the idea was to ensure that there is weeding out of the illegal immigrants, which means they will have to be deported to the state of Bangladesh. But is it going to be that easy? The answer to this is both yes as well as no. Why yes? Because in case Bangladesh accepts to pull back its illegal immigrants, then it will be an easy exercise. But the problem is Bangladesh has not acknowledged it. In fact, recently what we have also seen is Foreign Affairs Minister has called this as an internal matter of India, and Bangladesh has not accepted and is not going to accept any of these illegal immigrants, because it is not identifying these illegal immigrants as the citizens of Bangladesh. So what would be the future course of action? The future course of action is again in the gray area. So what would be the possibility? No one is aware of. Will they be going to the detention centers? That is a possibility. However, the number of detention centers in the state of Assam is comparatively less. How will it house nearly 19 lakh people is the major question that needs to be answered. The immediate outcome is that all these people whose names are not in this NRC list can be stripped of their voting rights. But as of now, nothing is clear about their job role, their working conditions, their housing, as well as the government healthcare, as well as education that is provided by the government to all the people in that particular state. This is again unclear, so we have no idea what is the future course of action for all these people in that NRC list. Coming to the concerns, what the NRC has also done is it has put number of people into a state of shock. Let's try and understand what are the various concerns as voiced under this article. Let's say for example there is a person X. This person X happens to be from the state of Arunachal Pradesh or any part of India. Let's say he is married a female called as Y. In the future what they also have is kids, so this is one complete family. But in this particular NRC list, what has happened is both Y and Z are accepted in the NRC list. Why? That is because in this particular list, Y, who happens to be a female from the state of Assam, has been able to show the legacy data from the state of Assam. Both these people are accepted as people living in the state of Assam. However, X is eliminated from this NRC list, which means the family bonding is broken in this particular scenario, and this person X, who happens to be a male, has a major concern as he has to move away from this family. Then there are people from other states of India who have moved to the state of Assam after March 24, 1971, which means these are the people who are legitimate citizens of India, but they have moved to the state of Assam after the prescribed date of March 24, 1971. Because they do not have all these legal documents to show that they have lived in the state of Assam, these people can also be called as not the legitimate citizens of India. Then there are administrative issues that is also surfacing in the state of Assam. What do we mean by it? Let's say for example there is a person called as Rustum, but in some of the documents let's say his name is written as Rustum. So in this particular case the NRC list has not acknowledged his name and he is also not part of the NRC list, which means he is also become an illegal immigrant, though he has been part and parcel of India and a citizen of India. Women have also been the major sufferers of this final NRC list. What happens? Let's say for example there is a woman. Women usually have two names, one before the marriage, one after the marriage. So before the marriage, let's say for example there is a woman called as Krishna Ghosh. So she is able to carry her father's name, and it is this that is present on all matriculation certificates. But after marriage, let's say the same person Krishna Ghosh will be having a name called as Krishna Chand, which means she has associated her name with her husband's name. Now, all the future certificates after her marriage will be in the name of Krishna Chand. But the current problem in the NRC final list is such people who have different names before marriage and after marriage are also not recognized under this list, and this can be a major problem to number of women across the state of Assam. After this NRC list, there would be few employers who would want to continue with the employees. For all those who would retain their job, fair and fine, but there would also be few employees who would lose their jobs because their employers would not want to retain those people whose names are not in the NRC list. And again, for all those people who have been retaining their jobs, in case their names are not in the NRC list, they may have to go to the tribunal, face the number of sessions in the tribunal, and what this will lead to is number of people actually losing their jobs over a period of time. There are also people who are wage workers, and these wage workers will have to let go their jobs, attend these sessions, and what would happen to their livelihood is another key concern that has been voiced in this particular article. So going forward, what this article draws is that genuine citizens must be protected and included in the NRC list. Till all these loopholes are plugged, none of the excluded members should be sent to the detention centers, is what this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about uranium contamination. The Uranium Corporation of India Limited was established in the year 1967 by the central government. This is nothing but a centrally owned public sector unit. So what is the objective of this particular organization? This will help in uranium mining as well as processing of uranium. and this comes under the administrative control of Department of Atomic Energy. As per its objective, the Uranium Corporation of India Limited was mining uranium in Vimula Mandala of Kadapa district in the state of Andhra Pradesh. However, people in and around this particular region have also alleged that uranium mining by this particular organization has also led to uranium contamination, and as a result, ponds and lakes in and around this region are contaminated and they are not able to consume the water because of this particular mining as well as processing. In line with this, the Andhra Pradesh government has also ordered for a full inquiry into this particular allegation, and they have also requested the Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board to set up a committee of experts to look into this particular allegation. So it is this committee which will comprise of the scientists, senior officials of the Geographical Research Institute, the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, the Mines and Geology, Groundwater and Agriculture departments of the state government, and the IIT Tirupati as members. And this will submit a report within 10 days if this allegation is right or wrong. When you look at the background, the Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board had certain conflict with the Uranium Corporation of India Limited. Why? That was because the Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board had requested the Union Corporation of India Limited to ensure that all the ponds that are present in this particular region has to be lined with polyethylene layer. But was it followed by this particular corporation? No. That is because the Union Corporation of India Limited was following all those rules that have been laid by the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. So because it was following the rules of the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, that is why it failed to understand what were the requirements of the Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board. It is this conflict that will also be read into by the committee. But what we have to understand in this particular backdrop is what are the major sources of uranium contamination. When you look at it from the geographical picture, you have states like Rajasthan, Gujarat, and multiple other places like Andhra Pradesh which are currently contaminated with uranium. So what are the major causes? This can be bifurcated into two causes. What are those? One is the natural cause, the other is the man-made cause. As we all know, the primary source of uranium is naturally occurring, which means that it can be found in the nature in several types of rocks, especially in those like the granite. So what happens when all the conditions are right in the nature? Uranium from these rocks can get into the water, and this will ultimately lead to uranium contamination. So they are present in the rocks, and this will go through some chemical reactions between the rock and the water, and this is leading to uranium contamination in the natural process. Then there is anthropogenic or the human induced factors as well, which is due to groundwater decline, which is due to over pumping of water, excessive use of water from the ground, and this is resulting in nitrate pollution, which may further enhance the uranium mobilization. So excessive extraction of water from the ground will ultimately lead to nitrate playing its card, leading to uranium mobilization, which is a major havoc under the man-made causes. Therefore, both because of the natural as well as the man-made causes, there is uranium contamination, and this is a major health problem. When you look at the World Health Standard, the World Health Organization has set up a provisional safe drinking water standard, and this is 30 micrograms of uranium per liter. Anything more than this can be harmful for the human beings. So in this particular backdrop, what we have to understand is with respect to the drinking water quality. The drinking water is the water that is used for the human consumption, for drinking as well as for the cooking purposes. The quality of these standards in India is prescribed by the Bureau of Indian Standards. So what is the job role of the Bureau of Indian Standard? It will define what amount of chemicals can be permissible in the drinking water. So anything more than this will be unfit for drinking. It will also check if there are bacteria in the water as well. So anything in terms of bacteria or chemical contamination, if it is exceeding that particular permissible limit, then the Bureau of Indian Standards steps in and it will consider that that drinking water is unfit for the human consumption. Likewise, as per the Bureau of Indian Standard, it has also prescribed something for the arsenic, that is in the range of 0.01 mg per liter, and for the nitrate it is about 45 mg per liter. But but the major concern under this particular article is this Bureau of Indian Standards has not spoken anything about the uranium. It has spoken about arsenic, it has spoken about chromium, it has spoken about iron, it has spoken about nitrate, but this has no reference that has been made with respect to uranium, and this is a major institutional flaw. But the government body responsible for maintaining and publishing all these water quality standards has not done anything when it comes to the uranium in drinking water. So what are the various problems or health effects that have been associated with uranium? Drinking water with high levels of uranium traces increase the radiological as well as chemical risk to the human health. This will ultimately result in number of issues like the thyroid cancer, blood cancer, depression. Studies that were also conducted to understand the health impact of uranium have also come to a conclusion that ingestion of all these high quantities of uranium can also lead to chronic kidney problems. So going forward, the government will have to ensure that it revises the water quality monitoring programs, includes a uranium standard in the Bureau of the Indian Standards, and there should also be a technological upgradation to find out if that particular water has uranium or not. And it has to identify all these risk areas, explore new ways of preventing and treating uranium contamination so that water that is consumed by the people is uranium free. So this is what we need to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act of 2019. For all those people who love riding their bikes without their helmets, be careful, because the fines are not going to be easy, but it is going to be exorbitant. When you look at riding without a helmet, the old fine was about 100 to 300, but now what you have is a fine of about 1000. For all those people who believe in drinking and driving, not giving importance to the people around them, they will also face issues. Why? For the drink and driving, there was 6 months of jail and a fine of 2000, but going forward, there will be 6 months in jail with a fine of 10,000. So what this Motor Vehicles Amendment Act of 2019 has done is it has increased the penalty both in terms of fine as well as the jail term. In order to understand an entire analysis of Motor Vehicles Amendment Act, we have discussed on 3rd of August 2019 under the Motor Vehicles Amendment Bill. So kindly look into it. And now all that it has done is it has got the presidential assent and it will be implemented from today. And going forward, the fines will be exorbitant is what this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about the e-vehicle and the economies with respect to the e-vehicle batteries. When you look into the background, Niti Aayog in May 2019 had proposed to ban the sale of all internal combustion engine that was powering three-wheelers post March 2023. So after March 2023, they'll not be able to use three-wheelers which has internal combustion engine and not electric engines. Then it also came up with a suggestion that two-wheelers below 150cc will all be electrified in the future and they'll not have the existing mechanism. In consonance with this, the union budget has also provided tax incentives for adopting all these electric vehicles going forward. In line with this, what we have to understand is the cost factor with respect to the conventional vehicles as well as the electric vehicles. When you look at the electric vehicles, what you have is the major part called as the drivetrain. So what is this drivetrain? This is nothing but a part of the motor vehicle which connects the transmission with the drive axles. So the drivetrain basically includes the transmission, then it includes the drive shaft, it includes the drive axle as well. So this is a connected part which includes all these important parts within the car system. So what this article currently says is that the cost of the drivetrain in the conventional vehicles is comparatively higher than in the electric vehicles. Why? Because when it comes to the electric vehicles, the number of parts in this drivetrain is comparatively less, so the cost of drivetrain is also less. So when it comes to the conventional vehicles, the number of parts in the drivetrain are more. That is where the cost of it is increased. However, when you consider the electric vehicles, the cost of the battery as shown in the picture is very high, and this is not the case with the conventional vehicles. So the drivetrain is comparatively cheaper in the electric vehicles as compared to the conventional ones, but when it comes to the battery, it is more costly in the electric vehicles than in the conventional ones. What are the components of the battery pack and how much do they cost? So what are the various components when it comes to the battery? This will basically involve all the cathode, the anode, the electrolyte, the separator, and this will contribute about 60% of the cost of the battery. And apart from this, there are other costs that are also associated when it comes to the battery production. So what are these? One, it will include the labor cost, then it will also include the overheads, and finally it will also include the profit margins. So what are the overheads that is mentioned under this article? Basically, when you are looking into the manufacturing sector will have to rent a particular place. So it has to pay rent as well. It has to ensure that there is electricity supply. Then there are lubricants that are used for testing all these vehicles. So the overhead in the manufacturing sector includes, apart from the labor cost, apart from the profit margin, all those things that are used during that particular process. The rental, the electricity, the other lubricants that are used during this particular process of manufacturing. So in case the cost of the electric vehicles has to be reduced, it has to be in tune with the labor cost or in tune with the overhead cost, because the profits with respect to the battery has already been reduced, is what the article trying to speak about. The next question in the article speaks about the price of the Leon battery. Has it been same? Has it increased or spiked up? Has it dropped? Is what is the point of discussion. According to article, what we see is a drop in the prices of the Leon batteries. Why? That is because of the technological improvements, economies of scale, as well as increased demand for this particular battery. It also means there is fierce competition in the market. Let's take an example. When you look at the current telecom communication sector in India, what we see is Airtel, Vodafone, and other network service providers were providing internet for about 100 or 200 for 1 GB for the entire month. So there was less of competition. Then enters Jio into the market, and when Jio enter into the market, what was being awarded for 1 month is currently given at 1 day. So what it means is, when there is cutthroat competition in the market, this will obviously reduce the prices. Likewise, when it comes to the battery, it has led to reduction in the price, basically because of the increase in the competition. Where does India stand when it comes to the EV adoption? Majority of the transport in India is through the two-wheelers. 79% as claimed by Niti Aayog is the source of mobility from source to the destination in India. And when it comes to the three-wheelers as well as cars, this is about 4% as well as 12%. So what it means is, the major commutation takes through the two-wheelers. So what we require is a battery structure which is very small in comparison, because the number of people who commute through two-wheelers are more. So what we need is two-wheelers which will have smaller batteries when compared to the cars. So what is the current state of battery manufacturing? India needs to manufacture all these Lion cells in the house. Currently what we are doing is, we are importing different parts of the battery. So there is a battery and it has very different components. These different components are imported and they are assembled in India. But going forward, what we require is this manufacturing happening within the folds of India. Because we are importing right now, our foreign exchange has also increased. This has to be replaced by production within the boundaries of India. Are EV vehicles completely environmental friendly? That is another question that is discussed. When you look at the conventional vehicles, what you have is the source of energy, petrol or diesel. These are something which is harmful for the nature, and this is impacting climate change as well. But when it comes to the electric vehicles, you need a source, and this source is through the electricity. So what are the sources of electricity? One is through the conventional process like the coal or the thermal power plant. Then you also have the unconventional power sources like the renewable sources of energy like the solar as well as the wind energy. In case the power that is consumed by these electric vehicles is produced by the solar or the wind power, then it is economically friendly and environmentally friendly. But the problem is, this is currently only at 10% and the majority is currently from the coal sector, which is amounting to 90%. So what it ultimately means is that this is not environmental friendly, as the thermal power plants can also impact climate change. So this is what this article all about. Which of the following helicopters are correctly matched with the country of manufacture? AH-64E Apache, USA; Mi-35 Russia; Chinook helicopters France; Ka-226T Russia. The answer to this is 1, 2 and 4 only. Why? The third is not France, but it is USA as well. So the answer to this is 1, 2 and 4. Why have we picked this up? Because there is an article with reference to Ka-226 as well as Mi-17A2. That is why we have taken up that particular question. Now let's look into the next practice question. CSAT belongs to which country? The answer to this is Canada. So what is the CSAT? It is a Canadian satellite that is designed to make observation of the Earth's atmosphere. So what will happen under this is it will help the scientists to understand the depletion of the Earth's ozone layer. Moving on, let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following are bacterial diseases? Cholera, tetanus, measles as well as rabies. The answer to this is 1 and 2 only. Why? Because measles and rabies are not bacterial diseases, they are viral diseases. Why have we picked this up? Because there is a reference that is made with respect to the cholera bacteria having become highly drug resistant, and that is speaking about Vibrio cholerae, and they have become resistant to antibiotic sulfomethoxazole as well as neomycin. So kindly mug up these antibiotic names as well. Now let's look into the next practice question. Arrange the following from north to south: Javadi Hills, Palgonda Hills, Cardamom Hills and Annamalai Hills. The answer to this is 2143. Why? We have Palkonda Hills in the first, then we have the Javadi Hills, followed by Annamalai Hills, and finally what we have is the Cardamom Hills. Why have I picked this up? Because there is a reference that has been made with reference to the Annamalai Hills of the Western Ghats. Now let's look into the next practice question. Kunduz, recently seen in news, is in which country? The answer to this is Afghanistan. Why have I picked this up? Because there is a reference where Taliban has launched attack in Kunduz amid talks with United States of America. And this is the geographical location of Kunduz. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which one of the following is best description of INS Astadharini that was in news recently? The answer to this is torpedo launch and recovery vehicle. Now let's look into the mains practice question. Explain in detail the features of the Motor Vehicles Act of 2019 and also critically comment if this will reduce the inefficiencies in the system. The uranium contamination in India is the resultant of lack of institutional preparedness and technological upgradation. What are its effects on human health and the means to address them? So please write all your answers on the comment section so that you guys can have a peer review and then also come up with constructive criticism if any. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.